Since this is a nursing school, I can tell you about several things that nurses did that made a big difference for us. One was saving holding tasks for when we came. And one of those examples was when he was 2 weeks old, it was time to change out his incubator because every 2 weeks the incubators get taken away to be cleaned. So that involves 3 or 4 nurses holding the baby, taking apart the incubator and then reconnecting everything to get him into the new one. It takes about 15 minutes. They waited until we came, and Miri got to be the person who held him for about 5 minutes. And that was a huge deal for her because they had let her hold Gabriel for about 5 seconds after he was born. And at the time she was holding him, she was crying and saying, the thought in her head, she told me later, was, take him upstairs now and get him hooked up. There's no time for this. And so she actually got to hold him and admire him and things like that. It also helped us a great deal when they used neutral words such as, he's acting his age, when the desaturation alarm went off. And the desaturation alarm is something that parents learn to hate very early in their time in the NICU. And it goes off every time the baby's blood oxygenation goes down below a certain level, and then the nurse jumps up and turns a dial and increases the oxygen. And that desat alarm going bong, 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 what it means literally is that your child's asphyxiated and can't get enough oxygen throughout his body. But they didn't say, oh, don't worry, it'll be fine, because of course it wouldn't. And they didn't say, oh, he's asphyxiating. Thank God they didn't say that. He's acting his age. That's what a 22-week preemie will do. They also took me seriously when I noticed something odd about the baby. I was changing his diaper once and noticed that his scrotum seemed to be larger than it should be. And I said this to the nurse, and she said in a very serious tone, I'll tell the doctor, and the doctor will order an x-ray. I thought, oh dear, have I just, disputed with the professionals here? And the answer is no, she was just taking me seriously. And the x-ray did in fact reveal a hernia. And the fact that I was taken seriously when I said that meant a huge deal to me, because I could be an advocate for my child as well. Also, they told us you won't hurt him when it came to diaper change time and temperature taking time. When we first saw him in the incubator at a few hours after he was born, we thought, oh my goodness, this child's just going to fall apart if you touch him the wrong way. And he was, of course, very fragile, but at the same time, you could change his diaper without causing major damage. It was also helpful to have them as an advocate for us when the doctor forgot about us. In one case was congenital adrenal hyperplasia was diagnosed. Turned out to be a false positive, which is actually a pretty common thing to happen in the NICU. 6 weeks later, we're saying, well, what about that congenital adrenal hyperplasia? Or it wasn't 6, it was more like 12 weeks later. And they just kept like, okay, we had the menacing visit from the endocrinologist telling us that our child could never, manage his salt or his fluids correctly. And we eventually, that nurse did get us the phone calls necessary to find out that it didn't appear to be an ongoing problem. And lastly, a suggestion is to figure out how to balance, if you're a NICU nurse, how to balance HIPAA, the privacy laws, with helping parents understand the NICU neighborhood that they're in. At Swedish, the incubators are about that far apart. And there is a chair you can sit in between them and look at your baby. And then the baby next to yours is maybe having an absolutely awful day with nurses swarming about with bloody gauze everywhere. In fact, that did happen one day with the bloody gauze. And I said to my baby's nurse, boy, how much longer are they going to be doing that? Is something serious going on over there? Should I be here? And just can't tell you. And so there's this poor mother over there having the worst day of her life, and I don't know if I should be there. Should I say something comforting? Should I say, hi? Should I not? no help. They can't talk about it. I understand privacy, but there needs to be some kind of an understanding, especially when you're going to spend that many months as immediate neighbors to other families.